Everyone knows about their 100-year-plus football rivalry. There's also plenty of intensity when Woodberry Forest and Episcopal get together in lacrosse, and the Tigers and Maroon will face off again today. Hello, lacrosse fans. I'm Jeremy Huber, joined by Monica Moore in the booth. And Monica, again, it's the rivalry between Woodberry Forest and Episcopal. Can't get much better than that.
Absolutely. This is the date that both of these two teams circle on their calendar. They're huge rivals. Coach Hemming said to us before the game that despite the weather, these two teams would play in a parking lot. They're so excited to get the opportunity to go out and play today. But you talk about a rivalry, there's a lot of overlap between these two teams. Coach Brian Hemming for Woodberry Forest has coached Timmy Phillips, who plays for Episcopal. And last year, Scott Conklin's brother was actually coaching for Woodberry Forest. And so while these teams are rivals, there's also a friendly rivalry that goes on between Episcopal and Woodberry Forest.
Caught a bit of a family affair in this contest. Well, lots of things to look at in this matchup. We'll start things off with our keys to the game for Episcopal. Hey, what's the Maroon have to do to get a win?
Well, first of all, they have a very balanced attack. They have lots of scoring options. They're certainly going to need that today. And capitalize on open looks. With the weather being a factor today, when these teams get offensive opportunities, they're going to want to capitalize. They have to finish. That could be the deciding factor. And then finally, winning the face-off battle. It is always important in lacrosse, but today in particular, getting these possessions, getting offensive opportunities is really going to help to decide the winner of tonight's game.
Now let's go ahead and take a look at the players to watch for Episcopal. We'll start things off with their senior attack man, number 13, Brooks Davey.
Well, Brooks Davey is such an outstanding scorer for Episcopal. He really gets it done. And what he's really improved on this year is dodging, getting himself open, not just relying on feeds from teammates, but actually creating scoring opportunities for himself. He's headed off to play at Denison next year, but certainly with this being his senior season, he's wanting to make a big impact in the game today.
And Davey, with all those points he's put up on the year, almost 40 points on the year, a guy who definitely can help your team on the offensive end. Of course, the other guy to watch for this Episcopal team, it's the defenseman on that side of the field. It's John Ober.
Well, and Ober really is an anchor for this defensive unit. He's a guy who, when he was a freshman, he worked his way into the starting lineup with one of the senior leaders, went down with an injury, and he's kept himself there and has improved every year. He's headed off to play at Denver, but really today, defensively, he's going to be the one keeping the glue together.
Let's switch over to the Woodberry side of things and their keys to the game.
Well, for Woodberry Forest, first of all, this is always important in lacrosse. Coaches will always tell you this, but winning those 50-50 ground balls is going to be a huge factor today for both of these two teams, and offensive possessions. We've already talked about it for Episcopal, but the same is true for Woodberry Forest. The teams today have to be really smart and consistent on offense, and when they get opportunities, they have to take good shots and not have costly turnovers. And then finally, team defense. We've talked about the balanced attack for Episcopal, and so Woodberry Forest today is really going to have to play good team defense, help out on those slides, because everyone for Episcopal can be a scoring threat.
Couple players to watch for the Tigers in this one. We'll start off on the midfield part of things. It's Patrick Shea, the standout from north of the border.
And Patrick Shea really gets it done offensively for Woodberry Forest. He's headed off to play for Richmond, and this guy is averaging about 5 points per game for Woodberry Forest. And so offensively, he's really the player you have to focus in on.
He's really the guy. We talked to Coach Hemming before the game and really talked about how good of a player he is for this Woodberry Forest team. On the other side of things, we talked about those offensive possessions, and Wiley Mendocino, an important guy when it comes to the faceoffs.
He absolutely is, and you see there he's going to wing it, but tonight I think where we're going to be talking about him a lot is in the face-off circle. Timmy Phillips, the big face-off guy for Episcopal, is back today. He's been out with an injury. Watching that battle between him and Mendocino is going to be a really exciting thing to see.
Really looking forward to this matchup. Had a chance to catch up with both of the coaches before the matchup. Our campus correspondent, Gray Robertson, he was able to catch up with Episcopal coach Scott Conklin.
Here with Episcopal head coach Scott Conklin, and coach, obviously not a sunshiny day like we wanted. How do you think the weather's going to impact today's contest?
I think both teams have to deal with the rain. We kind of knew it looking at the forecast yesterday and driving down certainly today. But it's actually not that bad right now. It's a light rain, so hopefully that's kind of the way it plays out for the game. But, it's not going to be a factor for either team.
Now, obviously, we've seen how fierce this rivalry can be on the football field. How is that converted over to the lacrosse field as these two teams have played the last few years?
Well, this is a game that you circle on your calendar at the beginning of the season, and both teams love playing each other. They love the rivalry. The energy level certainly picks up for this game, compared to a lot of other games that we play. So it means a lot to our kids, and it means a lot to them. It's a lot of fun. It's a great atmosphere to coach in a game like this.
Thank you, Coach. Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Episcopal coach Scott Conklin there, as Monica said. He's good friends with the guy on the other side of things, Brian Hemming, the Woodberry Forest coach. Gray also caught up with him before the matchup.
Here with Woodberry head coach Brian Hemming, and coach, one of the stars on EHS is Timmy Phillips. How do you plan on defending him today?
I think the one thing with Timmy, he's been around the state for 4 years now, and everybody knows who he is. I think the best thing you can do is just play him heads up, respect him, respect his game, and then challenge him a little bit, pushing out, getting on his hands and hips, and have to make him make a play. But he's a hell of a player, and he's really done some good things in his 4 years at Episcopal.
Now, you have a very unique perspective of this rivalry. Can you kind of talk about all that you've seen from your years as an Episcopal student to now being the Woodberry head coach?
Yeah, from being in this rivalry as a student athlete and then coaching in it at both schools, it's a great lacrosse rivalry. It's happens every Tuesday in April. Both teams get excited for it. It's always a big game at this point in the season in the state of Virginia. And I think too, both coaches and both teams understand. Yeah, it's a big Tuesday. But after Tuesday, you got to have a great practice Wednesday and Thursday to get ready for your next opponent on Friday. They got a big IAC game on Friday after us, and we got another big state game on Friday down in Norfolk against Cape Henry. So you got to kind of get after it today, put everything you got in today, but then you got to rebound quick and get ready for the next opponent.
Thank you, Coach. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Our campus correspondent, Gray Robertson, with Woodberry Forest head coach Brian Hemming. Let's go ahead and take a look at the starting lineups you see on your screen. And one of the guys we didn't mention, but we will mention a little bit more in the matchup, Monica, is Timmy Phillips.
Yes, so he has been out for the past few games with an injury. I mean, he's such a huge player for Episcopal. He's headed off to Notre Dame. He does such a great job in the face-off circle. He's so good at feeding the ball to teammates. So having him back today is going to be a huge factor for Episcopal.
And on the other side of the field for Woodberry Forest, their starting lineup in this one, as they'll be wearing their white at home today. And Woodberry, of course, kind of got a few guys as face-off specialists as well, but that's the starting lineup there. And we mentioned Pat Shea, of course, one of the guys to watch. Another guy to watch, Lindell Stone, the guy who played quarterback for the football team, also a big player for this Woodberry Forest team.
Absolutely, and we saw his football season get short railed there by an injury to his shoulder, so happy to see him back out on the lacrosse field. And then, of course, the goalie, going to keep our eyes on Talford Wharton today. It's going to be a great battle between the goalkeepers, a senior for Woodberry Forest back in the cage tonight.
Of course, Hampton Brannon, the sophomore in the cage for Episcopal. So almost ready for lacrosse here, and on this wet day, and want to touch on that as you see all the coaches in the rain gear and the slickers. It is not a nice day out here at all, Monica.
No, I mean, it couldn't be much worse in terms of weather. So I think, and we talked with both of the coaches about this, we're probably going to see a little bit of a slower pace today, not as much of a high-scoring game as you might expect. I think some turnovers and just some errors and some sloppy play that you wouldn't normally see just because of the conditions out on the field. But again, these guys are so excited to play that the level of intensity is going to be the one thing that will not at all be derailed by the weather.
Just saw a shot at Timmy Phillips there, Monica, and of course you're able to catch up with Coach Conklin during the week, and Phillips coming back from injury, and obviously just such a Notre Dame commit. You're a big guy for this team, correct?
Well, that's absolutely right, and having him back is going to be such a huge benefit for Episcopal. But you look at what they did while he was out. They had that huge win on Friday against St. Stephen's St. Agnes. That was, I think, a big confidence builder for Episcopal coming into this matchup today against Woodberry Forest.
And almost ready to go. One of the things that may minimize the weather just a bit will be the fact that we're playing on a turf field here at Woodberry Forest. So, and I think both coaches were happy about that before the game. We talked to them and say, look, it could get really, really bad out here if not for this turf field. We should be okay. Though the rest of everything, we'll have to see how that all goes. Face-off time here at Woodberry Forest are almost underway. Phillips is going to go ahead and try and win it from Mendocino, but Phillips ends up picking it up, and Episcopal will go back and set up.
And he did a great job of redirecting that back to his teammate, Chris Giblin. to win possession. And we've talked a lot about Phillips and how you're going to see him in the faceoff circle today, but it's definitely worth mentioning what a great job Shane Calderwood has done in the faceoff circle while Phillips has been out with that injury. And we're going to see both of those two guys today. Calderwood has been so impressive.
And a shot on goal and a quick goal for Episcopal. And the guy we were looking at, Brooks Davey, the senior out of Wilmington, North Carolina, finds the back of the net.
And Davey is just so consistent on offense. You look at his stats throughout the season, and just every night, day in and day out, you can count on him for consistent offensive production. And I think a huge confidence builder for Episcopal getting that first goal today. And it all started with the face-off win, helped off by Timmy Phillips.
I just saw that replay there, Monica. Davey finding the back of the net. And so Episcopal up with the 1-0 lead, 11:29, so very quick into the game, just 31 seconds in. Another face-off, this time going to be won by Mendocino. Going to try to take the attack, dishes it off, and Woodbury will try for the quick goal quickly, and now they'll go ahead and set up with Pat Shea leading the way.
And again, we're going to be talking about Shea all night long. You really, as a defender, have to know where he is at all times. You see him right now. He's moving all over the field. You have to keep track of him because he is so deadly on offense.
And Stone will have it up top. And again, as we'll see in lacrosse, you don't get that quick chance. You'll go ahead and set things up and look for your opportunity. Now Shea, again, moving it around. Woodbury, good ball movement early on.
Well, and that's one thing the coaches talked with us about before the game. You don't want to squander possessions, especially today. They're expecting a low-scoring game, and so both of these two teams are going to try to really take good looks at the goal and really select those shots very carefully.
Shea just dishing it off. He played a lot of these guys, Monica, looking over the roster, a lot of guys from that Woodbury Forest football team that we had the chance to cover a few of their games, but I'm wondering if that physicality is going to help them at all. The guys who know that gridiron game is looking for the shot, and wide of the net is a shot off from Shea, and it'll stay with Woodbury Forest.
Well, you see that a lot at schools, and a lot of times the lacrosse coaches go and specifically recruit the football players because there is so much crossover between the athletic abilities that are needed for both of these two sports. And so not surprising at the high school level to see players who play both football and lacrosse.
Of course, Episcopal has a good fair number of their team as well. 19 of 31 for Woodbury football players during the fall season. Ground ball going to be picked up and fought for, and it'll end up going out of bounds. This will be an interesting decision. This will stay with Episcopal.
And that was great defensive pressure, particularly by Calderwood. I talked about him earlier in terms of what he's been able to do at the faceoff circle, but he's really such a great all-around player for Episcopal. He's great defensively. He can score. And so Calderwood, and I think getting the opportunity really to step up his game even to the next level while Phillips was out with that injury. You always hate for a guy like Phillips to be out with an injury, but it requires other players to really step up. And having that happen can be really important as you get down to those last few games of the season.
Always building that depth, such a big thing. Some whistles on the other field and looking for a shot in front. That one knocked away, fought for, and thought it was picked up by a Woodbury player. Eventually tracked down over right before it goes out of bounds. Now will end up out of bounds and have a flag down. So going to be a penalty called on number 21, Luke Miller. Excuse me, not to a substitution. So no penalty, no one coming off into the box.
So a number of Woodbury Forest players coming off the field. Coach Hemming working guys in and out of the contest, and Lyerly also coming off the field for Episcopal. He was right on the doorstep, right around that crease area. They couldn't get the pass to him, but certainly was there looking for that open, close-range shot.
Miazon will find the back of the net. The freshman has put Episcopal up by a 2-0 score with just over 3 minutes gone in this game.
He is so impressive for a freshman. He's committed already to go and play for North Carolina. And, you know, that's just how the sport of lacrosse is going, as you're going to get another look here, kind of a mid-range shot there from Miazon. He is so accurate. That was a great shot, and giving now Episcopal this 2-goal lead.
A little high-low and beats the goalie, Talford Wharton. Wharton giving up 2 goals already and a 2-0 lead here for Episcopal on the road. Another face-off win by Mendocino, and he'll look to circle it back and reset up his team.
And you see that time Episcopal did go instead with Shane Calderwood in the face-off circle.
Lucas and Mendocino come off, replace them with their first line guys in that midfield. Tigers looking to break the ice. Down 2-0 here early on. Looks like the wind is kind of slacked off a bit. Was blowing pretty heavily earlier in the game before we got going, kind of a monsoon-type conditions.
Well, it definitely was. The rain was going a bit sideways.
Pass inside and a shot knocked away. It'll stay with Woodberry Forest, though. Tiger Ripley making a good feed.
Absolutely. That was a great look inside. The shot was just a little wide, but Woodberry Forest, I think, doing a good job trying to get a high percentage shot.
Again, Tigers looking for an opening. This one's going to go wide of the net. Will stay with Woodberry Forest as Whitworth closest to it will scoop it up and bring it back in.
Woodberry Forest doing a good job backing up those goals, retaining possession.
It's one of those interesting things, a little different, that lacrosse rule. As a shot will be blocked, and getting to it will be Woodberry Forest.
It definitely is. A lot of people say it, and it's true that lacrosse is such an offensive-minded sport, because if you are the player closest to the ball as it goes out of bounds on a shot, your team gets possession so the offense can retain possession. And, of course, with the face-offs, you can make it, take it. So it's one aspect that makes lacrosse such an exciting sport.
Tiger Ripley with a little bit of an airmail there, but a flag down. And that was one of the things as we see the call by the referee. I'm going to see someone, I think, into the penalty box for Episcopal. It's going to be Stuart Greenspan.
So a man-up situation here.
See, Ryan McKernan looks like he's going to be the man on the penalty box. So, yeah, like I said, man-up situation for a minute for Woodberry Forest. We'll see if they can break the ice.
And certainly a good opportunity here for Woodberry Forest. You always want to look for a good high-percentage shot here when you do get these man-up situations.
It's one of the things you kind of want to make the defense move as much as possible and get them out of their lanes. Kind of zoning up here, but Woodberry sending a couple guys in. Shea's going to take the shot. That one rejected. Nice save there by Brannon.
And not surprising that they went with Shea taking the shot for the Tigers.
So another call is going to give the ball back to Woodberry Forest. Again, Woodberry moving around. That one, another high shot coming from the cross of Bazimski, and that was one of the things, again, the coaches said was, look, you're going to see some shots here that are just a little bit wild because it's the wet conditions. There's nothing else to really blame it on.
Well, that's exactly right, and the ball's not necessarily going where the player's aiming at it because of those conditions.
And again, another one wide of the net, and it'll stay with Woodberry Forest.
So the Tigers getting a lot of offensive opportunities here. But again, I think you have to attribute some of this to the weather, the fact that the shot's not as accurate as you might otherwise see.
Yeah, and I think if you look at it, the Episcopal really, I think, only taking those two shots, maybe a third, but they've all really been on net as opposed to Woodberry. A lot of shots, but most of them have gone wide. Not even really close. I think the one save by Brandon, that was it. Now that one's going to find the back of the net. A nice shot. Nick Bierman goes low and able to find the back of the net and cuts the deficit down to 1.
And that was a great pass to get him open by Shea, of course, the offensive-minded Shea for Woodberry Forest. And then the finish by Bierman. Did you see it coming from the left side?
Yeah, nice angle and kind of went high-low and bounced it in, but able to find it. Again, the face-off battle we're going to be tracking all game long as it's Phillips and Mendocino. Again, looking for that always important control. And this one will be won by Phillips. A lot it was won. Now eventually will pick it up on the ground ball.
And Phillips doing a great job right there. Now it's 2-2 on the face-off wins between these two teams, and it's the even battle that we expected so far because they do have such great face-off specialists in Phillips and Mendocino, and of course We also talked about Shane Calderwood.
That one's going to go wide. We'll throw it down to our campus correspondent, Gray Robertson.
Earlier we talked about the relationship between Woodbury head coach Brian Hemming and Episcopal, but there's also a relationship between Episcopal head coach Scott Conklin and Woodbury. Coach Conklin's brother Greg Conklin actually worked here for a few years and coached lacrosse, so that relationship has given Coach Conklin a very familiar feel about this campus and this school. Back to you.
Thank you, Gray. Again, 2-1 our score as Woodbury Forest. Again, with the trailing by 1 here. Of course, we were here earlier in the season for the football match between these two teams. That one was a good game. Looking like this one could be as well. Mizan going to be taken down. They're going to call a flag, and the Woodbury Forest coaching staff is not happy. They think that's a slip.
Looks like the call going against Shea.
Nope, that is Shea. Again, well, it's tough to tell sometimes. They just don't want to stay in the box. I think it's still going to be the 1 minute up for Episcopal. So now, and that goes off Phillips' stick. Again, you see right there, that's perfect evidence of how hard it is to control this ball right now. Mizan getting point blank and save. What a play there by Wharton.
That was a great save by the goalkeeper for Woodbury Forest because nice left shot there by Miezan. We've seen how deadly he can be from that mid-range, but the goalkeeper read it all the way.
A lot of contact there. Referees let that one go after the slash earlier.
And a great job by Episcopal getting possession back.
Another point-blank save by Wharton after a wonderful play there. The nice feed across by Phillips. Again, a lot of contact out here, kind of looking like a football game as another flag goes down.
And you really have to give a lot of credit to Wharton because those were two great shots by Episcopal, and he came up big both times for Woodbury Forest, help keeping this one close.
3:47 with the clock stopped as the referees again sorted out and moving quickly down. Again, interesting start. And we mentioned a lot of these guys' football player backgrounds, Monica. Here's the save again. And, again, point blank. If given a chance, those earlier shots seem like they're a little bit of screening. These last two, it seems like Wharton has been able to see the shot and been able to stop it.
Absolutely. He's seen it very well. He's had great stick position there to make the save. And as I said, really has come up big 2 times in a row now for Woodbury Forest.
So we will get back going after everything's sorted out. 3:39 and rolling here in the first period. Woodbury Forest trailing Episcopal 2-1. Shea coming back on as his penalty time has expired. So back to even strength.
So a bit of a missed opportunity there for Episcopal, not able to capitalize on their man-up opportunity, even though they got some great looks. Wharton just came up very big for Woodbury Forest.
And that one, it's going to go wide. I think that might actually been a little bit of a, I think a defenseman might have got a stick in there.
Yeah, it was definitely deflected.
Though it's tough to tell with so many wild shots with the weather earlier on today, but I think a good defensive play there by Chris Giblin.
And Chris Giblin's a player that Coach Conklin talked to me about who's really just an unsung hero for this Episcopal team. Does such a great job on defense for the Maroon.
And that's kind of the way it is in lacrosse, is that shot's going to go wide, maybe a piece of it by Brannon. But you look at it, and really the defensive guys are the unsung heroes because they don't really put the stats up. Unlike the goalie, there's not the chance to make the big save. It's kind of a workman-like job because you never really get that glory of scoring.
Well, absolutely. And so what you really get that glory with things like ground balls, and that's something that Giblin does such a great job with.
Last meeting in this series came about this time last year. Woodbury Forest with a 9-8 win over Episcopal, hoping to go ahead and do that again as they trail by 1 under the 3-minute mark in the first period. Real quick early start of this one, and then it's kind of slowed down a little bit. Lots of penalties in the early going.
Well, we talked a lot about the fact that we thought it was going to be a low-scoring affair, and then Episcopal came out and got those 2 quick goals, and I thought, well, famous last words, but yes, it has slowed down a bit, and here you see just a great defensive battle as both teams trying to come up with the loose ball.
And again, looked like Woodberry had the chance there, but the whistle blows, and it'll stay with Episcopal. And taking it down the field, Shane Calderwood eventually will dish it off to Phillips, and Episcopal will set up their attack.
And it's certainly been an interesting first quarter because, as you said, Jeremy, Woodberry Forest has had a lot of shots, but just hasn't, had a lot of them capitalized, whereas Episcopal hasn't had as many, but it's been the accuracy. But then the last 2 trips down, we've seen a bit more wild shots from the Maroon as well.
Yeah, that's what we asked the coaching staff beforehand. We said, hey, is it something where you just want to throw shots on goal? And it's, not really. I mean, that was from Coach Hemming of Woodberry Forest. It said, look, it's more about just making sure we get good possessions and get good shots, and almost a good opportunity for Episcopal there, and a big hit in front of the net as the ball be fought around for, and I thought it was going to be picked up on a ground ball by Woodberry Forest, and the whistle blows again, and a flag will go down, elbowing.
And David Williams, they're really doing some great defensive work for Woodberry Forest in the mix with the long pole as well.
And Taylor Brower is going to go to the penalty box. So really the penalties have been unkind to Woodberry Forest so far. Really haven't hurt, though. I believe all the goals have been at even strength. And Episcopal content just to work the ball around the perimeter. Miazan, nice shot. He'll bounce it in, and that's the second goal for the freshman, and now a 3-0 lead for the Maroon.
And a similar range shot to his first one today, and now you see Miazan get his second. And I think what's so impressive about him, he's such a confident shooter. I mean, again, only a freshman, and you're going to get another look here. Nice pass, and then the bounce shot into the net for Miazan.
It's got to be so tough. You watch hockey, you watch the different ones, you don't get that. You don't get that having to react. It's almost, more than goalie in hockey skills. It's almost as much skills of being like a catcher in baseball, where you're having to go ahead and block a ball, that curveball that goes at 58 feet instead of 60. Having to kind of react to it bouncing up and taking that wicked hop.
And it's going to be Phillips back in the draw control circle. He's had a little more success today thus far, but Woodberry Forest going to come up with the ground ball.
Yeah, Ripley going to run down that ground ball and bring it back, and a long setup, as again, it's one of the cool things in lacrosse is how they use that goalie sometimes to start the attack. Wharton with the outlet pass, and eventually a fight here, and they'll be picked up on the ground ball. Now a chance to score as he lost it. That was Griffin that lost it, but able to pick up his own, and they'll dish it off, and a shot and a nice save there in front by Brannon. A hard shot from the wing coming from Ware.
Yeah, a bit of a longer range shot there from Ware, but the goalkeeper read it dead on. Great play by the keeper, Hampton Brannon.
Again, there's that replay, and Brannon just, it seems like when the guys are able to see those shots, they've been able to stop them. At least one's on that same plane. It's the bouncers that have really gotten to him so far. So Woodberry going to keep possession.
Well, I think with the field conditions, certainly this field here is the field you would want to play on in this weather, but a little hard to tell which way the ball's going to bounce off the field.
Shane Calderwood in the penalty area for Episcopal, so it will be a man-up situation for Woodberry Forest. Looking to cut that lead back down to that disadvantage, back down to 1. Thought Shea was going to unleash. This one's going to go wide from the cross of Whitworth, but it will stay with Woodberry. Clock stopping with 15.4 left to go in the period.
Woodberry Forest has taken a lot of shots from around that area, and a lot of them have gone wide.
Wild pass there, but tracked down by Whitworth. Shea's going to try and make a run at it. Doesn't have much time. He'll dish it off in a shot, and that one will go wide, and that'll bring us to the end of the period. And it'll be Episcopal with a 3-1 lead here at the end of 1, and what's been a bit of an interesting game so far, and I guess you could say a physical game so far, Monica.
Well, that's absolutely right. We've seen a lot of man-up situations for both of these two teams. Woodberry Forest capitalized on one of them, so we've only had one man-up goal, I think. But both teams getting their opportunities. But the player that really impressed in the first quarter was Miezon, the freshman. 2 goals already to his credit, both high percentage shots, but tough shots for someone to make. So I think Miezon really coming up big, and then the face-off battle, what we expected, 2-2 for both teams.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a fantastic player to watch, and you think to yourself, only a freshman, only a freshman. We see that in some of the games we've called in the WCAC in D.C. You'll see a freshman come through. That kid's that's another guy right here. You say only a freshman really applies to him because you just can't imagine what he'll be when he's a senior.
Well, and people have really mixed views about how the recruiting is going right now in lacrosse with a lot of these freshmen going ahead and committing and teams filling up their rosters. And so for players who really come on strong in their junior and senior years, they don't necessarily get the looks. But for a player like Miezon, you see how special he is. Of course, every team is going to be competing for a guy like that. North Carolina is the one that got him. But you see what he's been able to do so far. And I think this is a really interesting statistic for Episcopal because you see 2 of those guys are midfielders in Phillips and Miezon. And you don't necessarily see that on a lot of teams where you have midfielders leading the charge with the assists.
But obviously sharing the ball in a team that, as we've seen, really has shared it well and gotten guys chances to score here. And really some of the main guns, the ones who are able to find the back of the net so far in this 3-1 matchup. Episcopal with the lead. You see head coach Brian Conklin. We touched on a little bit earlier in the game about how Coach Conklin, Coach Hemming, both good friends. They're guys who know each other, and, of course, all the little crossovers between staff. And, of course, Coach Hemming actually went to and played at Episcopal. So it's kind of an interesting little rivalry on the lacrosse field, and this will be awarded over to Mendocino and Woodberry Forest. So they'll go on the attack.
Well, in lacrosse, it's such a family sport. You often see, brothers and sisters all going through and playing at different schools. And so, it's not surprising. And there's so much overlap. You have these players who play for their club teams and their school teams. And so they all know each other. And it's a very close-knit community. And so, again, while a rivalry, it's typically a friendly rivalry on the lacrosse field.
And it's one of the things Coach Hemming said when I talked to him before the game was you just can't replicate what the football guys have in just for the simple reason of that's their Super Bowl, really. It's the last game of the season. These 2 teams could see each other in the Virginia State playoffs. There's chances they could see each other again, so there's not that finality. They're still looking to win a state championship, something the football team just doesn't get a chance. Flag down out on the field, so Woodberry Forest is going to play along, and we'll see what the refs will go ahead and call it our next stoppage. And saved in bounds. And it will go out now, so the ref will blow the whistle. And we'll see. I'm going to technical, I believe, on a hold. So going to be a hold here, and it will bring a player for Episcopal off, I believe, and give the ball back over to Woodberry.
Looks like it's going to be Ainsley for Episcopal.
Quinn Ainsley, the senior out of Lynchburg, Virginia. And he actually headed off to play his lacrosse at Hamden, Sydney, a place close to my heart, my alma mater. And the good thing for him is his color scheme won't change that much. The Tigers, a lot of maroon and black, so a lot of the stuff I'm sure he's wearing for Episcopal is going to fit in well down there. Ball knocked around. Nice defense there, and ground ball chased after.
Yeah, that was John Ober, one of our players to watch, coming up big for Episcopal defensively.
They're going to say a push, and the fans looking for a hold. The maroon fans, they don't get it, so Woodberry going to get a chance to score here.
We've talked a lot about Ober, but I think, where he's really stepped up his game, he's always been a great one-on-one defender, but he's really stepped it up with the team defense. He's become a great leader for Episcopal, and know that will continue on as he pursues his college career next year.
Phillips overran that one. Will give Woodberry a chance to score here. And a long shot that's going to go wide of the net, and will stay with Woodberry Forest as Bazimski, the freshman out of Chapel Hill, took that wild left-handed shot and missed the crease.
Absolutely not the shot that Woodberry Forest wanted. Both coaches talked to us a bit about high percentage shots, but Woodberry Forest retaining possession.
Dish off another close shot and a goal there. Finding the back of the net, Nick Bierman. So Bierman, maybe not as regarded as some of his other teammates, but definitely finding ways to score. He's got both Woodberry goals, and it's now 3-2.
And again, just what we expected, this back and forth affair between these two teams. Really neither team, Jeremy, I think you could give the edge to right now. It's been a pretty even match, which is what we expected. You're going to get another look there at the left side shot from Bierman. Great accuracy by the Woodberry Forest player.
Bierman heading off to Christopher Newport in the fall. Of course, his other teammates off to other spots. And now a chance maybe to tie this thing up. Dish off. Woodberry will bring it back. And a shot, and this one goes wide of the net on the bounce. Taking the long shot, Nate Ingram, the senior. And it will stay with Woodberry.
And even though I just said that, you know, the two teams have been evenly matched, I think a little momentum right now with Woodberry Forest after the goal. Then they get the face-off win, another opportunity here where they could tie things up.
What about dishing? Ingram thought about dishing it off to Ripley. Ripley wearing those orange socks. A lot of guys for this team wear those orange socks. Of course, he has his down, tougher to tell. Again, Ingram going to take some time. Really, you kind of look out there. We mentioned the football team, and pretty much the whole receiving core from that football team seems to be out there. I remember a lot of these names, Shea and Ingram, all with chances to do some stuff on the football field. Now trying to do the same thing on the lacrosse field. Just as that went off, that's going to be a wide pass, and that's going to go over to the Maroon.
Yeah, unfortunate there for Woodberry Forest. They were trying to get a good look at the goal, but instead the sloppy pass and the turnover to Episcopal.
And Phillips was going for it, gets it taken away, and now a good scoring chance for Woodberry out in front. That's going to find the back of the net, and we're all tied up as Harry Ware on the fast break, able to put it home, and it's all tied at 3.
And that was all created by the defensive pressure by Woodberry Forest. Right before it happened, I was getting ready to say that both of these teams had done such a great job clearing the ball, but you saw right there the defensive pressure resulting in the quick goal for Woodberry Forest. Really nothing the goalkeeper could do on such a close-range one-on-one opportunity for Woodberry Forest. A great finish, but again, all created by the defense.
Where the junior out of Middleburg, Virginia, the attack man able to find the back of the net. Another win by Mendocino is going to dish this one off, and now Woodberry looking for their first lead of the game. The ground ball fought for, and eventually it'll be brought back in as Shea is able to pick it up.
But another great defensive play by John Ober. We keep talking about him, but really just the heart and soul of this defensive unit for Episcopal, and you see why, because the momentum had shifted, and instead Ober breaks things up a bit and causes Woodberry Forest to reset.
And now a timeout going to be called. And a quick break in the action, so 3 apiece with 8:09 on the clock, the official time clock here at Woodberry Forest. And again, really that really quick start for Episcopal, and Woodberry had clawing their way back in, but I think you mentioned a little bit the fact that Woodberry, after some wild shots early, have been able to find those same kind of point-blank controlled shots that really got Episcopal that lead.
Well, I think that's right. And I think the other thing that you have to say for Woodberry Forest right now is it's not Shea that's creating all the offense. They're getting contributions from other players in Bierman and Ware. That's a great sign for them, because these defenses, they key in on players like Shea, make it a lot harder for them to get daylight. And so when you have these players stepping up like Woodberry Forest does right now, a huge sign for the Tigers. And as I've said, the momentum has shifted a bit. I think you're seeing a lot of confidence in Woodberry Forest with their shots, these past few shots that they've taken on goal.
These two teams, competitors when it comes to the Virginia State Championship at the D1 level. In the latest rankings, I believe out just today, Episcopal ranking 6th, while Woodberry Forest ranks 8th. Both teams really looking to go ahead and have a run in the state championship. We mentioned this before, but as you see on your screen, Coach Hemming coached and played at Episcopal. I forgot, Monica, as I was getting information from him, I forgot I wanted to see if I could get a picture of him in his Episcopal gear, and I thought that'd be pretty cool. We weren't able to get that, though. I think we're coming back later in the year. Maybe we'll get a chance, at least to kind of in retrospect, to look at that one. But he would love to go ahead and get a win over his alma mater's team with a 3-3 game on their hands right now and just under the 8-minute mark in the second period. Stone thought about taking it in, going to dish it back off to Shea up top. Good to see Stone back out here after that collarbone injury earlier in the year in football season. Talked to Coach Hemming. He said, hey, he's no worse for wear. He's out there. He's fine. He's taking hits. He's good to go.
Well, we talked a lot about him during football season. It was, I think, during that Benedictine game that he had that injury, and I was down on the sidelines, and I watched him that whole game after the injury, and he was taking water to his teammates. He was cheering them on. There was not a louder cheerleader on the sidelines than Lindell Stone. He's really such a great teammate, as evidenced by that game. You know, I'm sure he was in a lot of pain, but really was just focused on his team.
Yeah, it was good to see, especially a sophomore, not a young guy like that, not always the best leader, kind of thinking to themselves, oh, I'm hurt as this shot's going to go in. Shea almost with a fantastic play and still loose on the ground, eventually scooped up by Hammond, by Brandon in the crease. But, yeah, back to that day, really you're kind of thinking the kid might be sulking, but he was anything but sulking as he was trying to help his teammate. Now, Miazon with a nice dish off and a point-blank shot, and this one is going to be on the side of the cage, so another great save there by Warford to get the stop and just find the ball before anybody could get to it.
It was a great save because Greenspun had a lot of daylight for that shot, but just with the angle, couldn't quite get it there.
Stone taking it down the left flank, going to have it taken away by Phillips. Again, a couple turnovers in a row. And eventually brought back in by Episcopal.
And it's Calderwood coming up with it.
Again, another pass off, looking for Phillips. He's going to chase it down. Slips on the wet turf, but he'll retain possession. That's the one thing out on this field, you kind of wonder, even though the footing will be better if not guys kind of slipping on plays like that. Shot, that one going to hit the post.
Yeah, that was a nice shot.
Yeah, good shot through, but ends up hitting the post, I believe, bouncing off like that now. Just that quickly, Woodberry has a chance to score, and it will find the back of the net as Keene Griffin will score and put Woodberry Forest up in the matchup 4-3.
And that's the exact type of shot that Woodberry Forest looking for, the high percentage shot. Not a lot that the goalkeeper could do on that one. And again, these players continuing to step up for Woodberry Forest as we're going to get another look here. You see the close range shot. Again, a low shot. The goalkeeper really couldn't get his stick on it. And you see the excitement there. Woodberry Forest really feeling it as they've just held on to this momentum.
High-flying celebration there, and we've seen it a few times, kind of that fast break offense, if you will, guys kind of getting things going as opposed to trying to just bring the ball around the perimeter. Really hasn't worked as well when Woodberry's got on the run, and that's what Coach Hemming was looking for, kind of wanted a high-scoring run-and-gun type game, and he's starting to get it a little bit. We'll have a stoppage here. I believe a timeout.
And right now, everything really going the way of Woodberry Forest. They're winning the face-offs. They're getting good looks at the goal, high percentage shots. They're finishing, and that's why they've gotten this lead, along with the fact that they've had lots of different people offensively step up, taking that burden off of Shea, giving him a little more breathing room while the defense is focusing on him.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the scoring breakdown so far, you've got the 2 goals by Bierman, you got the goal by Griffin as well. Real, but it hasn't been Shea at all. It's been the other guys who've been getting it done. But in this situation, it's a good thing because they've been able to find ways to score.
Absolutely, and then Ware with the other goal for Woodberry Forest. And so I think right now that is a great sign for the Tigers that they're having such a balanced offensive attack.
Bit of a light crowd today, though. It's starting to pick up a little bit, and you could be explained. I thought we were going to have some visitors. It seemed like half the student section was in here, and as as exuberant as they were during football season, I was a little bit worried we wouldn't be able to hear each other.
Well, absolutely. Both of these schools had such great student support. I mean, you have to give the students a lot of credit because they really came out for that rivalry contest, and you could just tell how important that game was to both teams.
Of course, this one pretty important as well, as any win over your rival in this longtime school rivalry is. Nice pass inside. That one's going to be knocked away by Brannon and fought for and eventually corralled, it looked like, by Episcopal. Will stay on the ground, goes the other way. And now a chance for Episcopal.
And I know I keep talking about Ober, but really have just been so impressed with him defensively as you saw him down there helping clear the ball down to the Maroon side of the field. I mean, he really has been living up to his billing in today's contest.
Of course, Ober headed off to play lacrosse at Denver, and you say, well, Denver, not that big of a deal. No, it is. Denver, that really jewel of the west of the Mississippi River program, a team that really a constant NCAA tournament team after really kind of picking up the sport not that long ago. Shot in. This one's going to find the back of the net. That's the other guy to watch in this one, Brooks Davey, his second of the game, and we're all knotted up at 4 with 4:06 to go.
And Davey just kind of snuck that one in, as you're going to see on the replay. A great shot by him to get his first goal of the day for Episcopal and to tie things back up.
And really, if you're talking star watches, here's the shot by Davey.
And again, you're going to see from this replay here the angle. I mean, he snuck it right into the left side, right past the goalkeeper. He had very little room to get that ball in the net.
I think I think that was Brower back there, almost used him as a screen. Didn't have a lot of space between he and the defenseman, but kind of used that to screen off the angle for Wharton in the goal and able to find the back of the net.
So now 2 goals on the day for Davey to go along with the 2 goals for Miezon.
Miezon with it as he'll dish it back off, and the pace kind of slowing down a little bit. We did get into some of that run-and-gun lacrosse a little bit earlier on, but now things slowing a bit. But now Episcopal looking to take the lead back, and they will. Shot from out in front finds the back of the net. Luke Miller, the junior out of Charleston, South Carolina, able to score and put Episcopal back up by 1 after they fell behind.
Well, and these are the guys that we expected to be carrying the offensive load for Episcopal. We talked about the fact they're so balanced offensively, as you're going to get another look here at this shot. Great low shot by Miller past the goalkeeper, but it's really Miller, Davey, Miezon. They do a lot of the goal scoring. Phillips as well, a big goal scorer, and you've got all those different guys that you can rely on for Episcopal. Really everyone, as we've said, an offensive threat for the Maroon.
Yeah, you look at it, just the breakdown of guys going on to play at the next level, and that one on Episcopal's side. When you look at some of the players, you got the places Furman, you've got Denver, you got a guy, of course, in Miezon that's going to UNC. Penalty here, and he'll stay with Woodberry, looking to chance to score here, as Ripley, looking for the dodge, doesn't get it, so he will recycle.
Well, of course, Phillips going to Notre Dame. And we haven't talked about him as much in this quarter of the contest, but such a huge part of this Episcopal team.
That shot goes high by Ware off the bounce, but I believe going to be a penalty here. We'll see. Going to be Woodberry ball. And I think with the 1 minute man advantage, I believe they're going to call that on Giblin, I believe. So maybe not. We'll have to see. Actually, no, he's pleading his case to Coach Conklin, so it likely is him. That's the universal symbol. Remember that many times as a football player. That's the plead your case look. I only did this, Coach. That's not a penalty. Tigers looking for the equalizer. Almost get it. That one, I think, bounced off the side, maybe the side of the post. Chase for the ball. That'll stay with Woodberry Forest.
Bierman looking for the hat trick, but I mean, that was a good shot for him.
Now out of the back of the cross. And now still, and ball almost gets in. Fight in front, a couple point-blank shots, and they all go wide. Some contact in front. Woodberry had some good chances, but just couldn't score.
Absolutely. That was Bierman again that was right on the doorstep of the crease, but just couldn't convert. I think Episcopal got a little lucky on that possession because two great looks for the Tigers.
Brower picked that one out of the air there. Look, kind of snuffed an Episcopal chance, and now shot. Again, point-blank, not a good angle. Let's see who they give this to. They'll say Episcopal wins the race. Here's that save again, Monica, and a couple chances. Not really great shots because of all the contact from the defenseman.
Absolutely, and like we said, Bierman with two great opportunities there for Woodberry Forest, but Episcopal able to hold strong defensively.
So 5-4, Episcopal on top of Woodberry Forest. A little bit of dodging in the middle of the field. Miezon's going to get it, and it's when he likes to put on a show, looking for an open seam. And will he take another shot and end up with his third goal of the game? Kind of adjusting his cage on his head there for a second on, maybe some water getting in there. Coming up on the 1 minute mark, that one bounces up high and a stop again by Wharton.
I think both goalkeepers have come up with some big saves for their respective teams in this first half as well. So they've been a big part of their team's efforts respectively.
Back to even strength now. And this will blow again and a timeout for Woodberry Forest as they'll look to set things up with just under a minute to play. So that penalty on Giblin elapsed. So back to even strength, but a chance to score here before the end of the half. And look at that replay here, the shot from Phillips, and another good save by Wharton. And Phillips, we talked about it. You know, he's the Notre Dame guy. He played. You know, he had such a good game. He's the guy that caught at least one, maybe two touchdown passes, if my memory serves right, in that in the football game we did up here again. But great athlete. When you take a guy like that on the lacrosse field, that's a tough guy to stop.
Well, absolutely, and he really does it all for Episcopal. A great defender. We've talked about him in the face-off circle. He can be deadly on offense, both as a shooter and a feeder. And so I know Episcopal very happy to have him back on the field.
Monica referring to missed 4 games. The last 4 games actually were back today. Also was a second-team All-Met selection earlier this year, last year, I should say. And, of course, All-Met encompassing all the great lacrosse programs in the D.C., Northern Virginia, Maryland area. So a lot of good lacrosse. You make that, means you're a very good player.
This is the hotbed, and so to be on that list really tells you the caliber of player that he is.
You know, and really a good mix when you talk about it with Woodberry Forest and their rivals in the prep league and some of the prestigious Virginia schools that they play lacrosse. And you talk about Episcopal, the league they're in, with some of the wonderful squads like Landon and those other teams. You know, really you're talking about the top-notch lacrosse at the prep level.
Well, absolutely. You have to come and compete day in and day out.
King Griffin's shot goes wide, but Woodberry will keep it with 46.7 seconds here. Looking for that equalizing goal before going in for the half. A little bit of momentum. Pass in front, eventually going to be corralled by Brannon, and it'll be Episcopal with a chance to maybe get a score, extend that lead out here late in the half.
Well, lacrosse is a game of runs, and we saw Woodberry Forest go on that run, and then now Episcopal has been on a bit of a scoring run, so we'll see if they can close out this first half with yet another tally.
He is on with a shot that goes wide. Still 18.9 seconds to go here in the half. So by Episcopal will get a chance still to score, extend that lead out. Then they will take a timeout, it looks like, to talk a little bit of strategy.
Well, they certainly want to get a good shot here. We've talked so much about how important the high percentage shots are, but right now 17.8 seconds to go in this one. It's been such a close affair that getting another goal here, stretching this lead out to 2, I mean, it really could be the decider here, you know, at the end of this first half. And so this is a huge play coming up for Episcopal.
Interesting to see where they go. Of course, as we kind of referred to, some on some folks as we see the 5-game winning streak after starting the season 2-3. So Episcopal obviously with a lot of confidence. But we talked about a little bit, Monica, how the goals have come from some unlikely folks for Woodberry Forest. On the other side of things for Maroon, it's been the guys you expect, and Brooks Davey has 2. Ricky Miezon's got 2. Luke Miller's got another one. So you're talking really in that group, it's all guys who are going on to play lacrosse to the next level. They're all very good. I would think we're probably going to see one of those guys at least trying to set an opportunity for them.
Absolutely, or Phillips as well. I think another strong candidate to take this shot here.
So we'll see what Coach Conklin has drawn up. On the other side, what Coach Hemming has defensively as we're underway here. Clock rolling, under 15 seconds to go. Miezon going to have a chance here as he gets a lane, looks to throw in front. That one bounced off the post. It was just a pass, got loose. They will clear it down to the other end. Chasing down, and eventually ball loose on the ground, going to be picked up by Brannon. And that will take us to the half with Episcopal leading 5-4, but almost became 6-4. And I don't know, to my eyes, that looked like that was a passing attempt that almost went to the net.
I think that's right, that it was intended to be a pass. You saw Miezon, he had a little daylight there, but not necessarily the shot that he wanted. And so I think he was looking to pass, and I think Woodberry Forest a bit lucky there that ended up in being a turnover for Episcopal.
Let's get it down to our campus correspondent, Gray Robertson, who's standing by with Episcopal head coach Scott Conklin.
Coach, you're up by 1. What are you going to tell your team getting ready for the second half?
We need to stay out of the penalty box is one. I think we were man down 4 or 5 times in the first half, so that's one thing we got to focus on. Just being patient on offense against their zone. We started to get some good looks there towards the end of the second quarter, and just to play fundamental defense. We played a zone a little bit earlier, and we switched to man about halfway through the second quarter. So that would be one thing we figure out if what we want to do in the second half: continue with the zone or continue with a man-to-man.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Thank you much, Gray. Jeremy Huber, Monica Moore, high atop the field here at Woodberry Forest, as right now the Tigers trail Episcopal by a score of 5-4 at the half. And some interesting lacrosse, some physical lacrosse, especially early on. And then we saw some of the talent shine through, especially for Episcopal. When you look at it, we mentioned it right before the half. Brooks Davey, 2 goals. Ricky Miezon with 2 goals. The guys you expect to score did for the Maroon.
Absolutely. They certainly came up big in the first half, where instead it was more of role players for Woodberry Forest who came up big on the scoring end. But we talked about it. It's a game of runs. Woodberry Forest went on a tear, and then Episcopal finished the first half strong. But it's a close game. That's what we thought it would be, this rivalry contest. Even when teams are having a down year, you really show up to play against your rivals. So this is exactly what we expected. And I think given the weather that we have, a bit of a high-scoring first half.
Yeah, that was one thing the coaches were kind of worried. It might not be the highest scoring because of the conditions, but looks like the guys are starting to get the hang of it, especially early on. We saw the guys who just kind of those wild passes and wild shots, as opposed to now where really they've kind of got things going. Of course, they look their upcoming schedule for Woodberry Forest. We'll be back here for that Paul VI matchup, which should be a really good one, a really quality program in the Fairfax area. But then St. Stephen, St. Agnes, St. Anne, Belfield, some good programs there as well. Should be interesting to see if the Tigers, if they can get a win here, what they can do with that.
Absolutely. That Paul VI team is a great team. Episcopal lost to them earlier this year. That was a hard-fought battle, and that was just one of the games where Episcopal just didn't finish well with a lot of their shots, and that was a big deciding factor in that contest. So that's going to be a great one between Paul VI and Woodberry Forest.
Coming into the game, we see, and it's one of the reasons I think that Coach Hemming told us, hey, I'd like to see a little bit more, but you see the goals for, goals against. Episcopal, obviously a little more high-scoring team. The differences there and the net goals so far. Episcopal a little more dominant, though. It's interesting, Monica had a chance to go ahead and catch up on some stats. 3 common opponents so far. As you mentioned, the Paul VI game will make a 4th, but Blue Ridge, also Potomac School and Flint Hill, both Episcopal and Woodberry 3-0 against those teams. And really, not that much different when it came to the scoring there. So these two teams, maybe a little advantage to Episcopal, but not much. They're pretty even squads, despite what it looks like, Woodberry, a little closer games than what Episcopal's been doing.
No, I think that's right. I think these two teams are very evenly matched. That's one reason why we're very excited about this game. It's not just the rivalry, but both these two teams having good years, and so we expected this one to be down to the wire, a really exciting game, which is what we've seen so far. And both of these two teams, these two teams, they're just filled with competitors, which you see that out on the lacrosse field. That's why we saw a lot of that physical play in the first half that you've talked about.
Couple highlights here from the first half in this matchup. We saw this was after Episcopal had gone ahead and taken that 3-1 lead, and Woodberry would take their time a little bit and make sure they got a good shot. Eventually would find the back of the net as Nick Bierman, one of his 2 goals, able to score there. Then they kind of picked the pace up a little bit and got this fast break opportunity, and Harry Ware would find the net.
Yeah, the fast break opportunity is huge for Woodbury Forest in the first half. That one, a great score by Ware. We already talked about the fact that they're really getting great play by their role players. Bierman had so many good looks in the first half as well for the Tigers.
And penalty would set up another chance for Woodbury Forest as they went ahead and looked to go ahead and extend their lead out a little bit, as the referees were definitely not unseen in the first half. A lot of calls, as we said, kind of a physical first half in this one, and that ended up with a 5-4 advantage for Episcopal. But again, we saw the flags go down a lot in the first half, and actually Woodbury came back to take a lead in the first half, but Episcopal would go ahead and take their time and eventually would go ahead and counter and get themselves back on the board and up getting a lead. And Miezon with a nice shot there. Again, we've seen him. He's really kind of almost a magician with that stick.
He really is, does not play like a freshman. But back to the penalties, Jeremy, it is interesting that even though we had a lot of penalties, I don't think that they've been that determinative in this game, because not a lot of scoring on the extra man opportunities, despite the fact that there were a lot of minutes in the box in the first half.
Some more action, some long clear there, and eventually it would lead to another fast break opportunity for Woodbury Forest, and that time it would be Keene Griffin finding the back of the net to give Woodbury their first lead of the game at 4-3, but Episcopal would be able to go ahead and counter, and again, defense kind of leading offense sometimes.
Well, I think that's right, and that was the big thing for Woodbury Forest, is the goals that they got off those fast break opportunities, whereas Episcopal's goals were largely in their settled offense.
Yep, and again, it's right now a 5-4 score, is getting close to the end of the half. And, again, it's been an interesting game. Again, like I said, though, a physical game. I think you had to expect that, though, with these two teams kind of matching up the rivalry aspect. You're not going to kind of leave anything out on the field, I guess, if you're playing this team.
Well, and I also think, with the weather, we weren't expecting a pretty game here today. And so I think sometimes when that happens, you compensate with things like your extra physical play, which we've seen by both of the two teams. I think it's been pretty even on that front in terms of the penalties.
Saw the Brooks Davey goal a couple seconds ago, and then it would be Luke Miller, the guy who put Episcopal back on top 5-4, and that's where we sit right now. A couple more examples of that physical play right there. Just saw it. But looking back, a good first half, and I think a good second half should be upcoming in this one, as, again, Episcopal with the 5-4 lead at the half. You can see what our camera guys are doing a great job out there, some of the conditions they've been having to go through. It's wiping lenses every couple of minutes. It's getting that stuff done, as you see the Tigers warming up as they look to go ahead and get an equalizer, maybe go past first half stats in this one for Woodbury.
Yeah, we've talked about Bierman and those 2 goals, and then Ware and Griffin with 1 apiece for Woodbury Forest. Really, the role players, again, you just can't say enough, and that's what has to happen when defenses key in on your star players. You really have to have those other guys stepping up.
Yeah, as we mentioned, Patrick Shea shut out in the first half. Really, their go-to guy, has not been able to go ahead and find the net. And when you think about it that way, I think if you're Coach Hemming, you have to be happy that your other guys have been able to step up and keep you in the game, really. These first half stats here, the guys we expected to score for Episcopal really have.
Absolutely. Miezon with those 2 goals, Davey with 2, and Miller with 1. That's consistent with what's been happening for the Maroon all season long. Again, as we've talked about, Phillips also a very good scoring threat. They have such great balance, and I think that's one reason they've been so successful this year, is because you can't just focus defensively on one guy or even 2 guys, because there are so many players out there that can really make you pay if they get an open look.
Of course, Episcopal comes into this one at 7-3. Woodberry Forest at 5-3. Both teams ranked in the latest Virginia VISA rankings. Again, those 2 teams will be looking to go ahead and maybe make a run in the postseason tournament. So almost ready to go ahead and get the second half started here between these 2 longtime rivals. You saw a little bit earlier the trophy case as they kind of some of our shots at the half. And really, I don't know, did you have a chance to go down and kind of look at that? Really exciting to kind of look back at all the history of this place.
Well, it really is. I mean, it's just a great testament to what the game means to these 2 schools. And also, I mean, in other sports, too. We talk a lot about the football rivalry, but it translates over into all other sports that these 2 teams compete against each other with. And I think, you know, this year it was Episcopal that came out on top in the football game. And so, you know, the rivalry just keeps getting better and better between these 2 teams.
In that quick shot of the Woodberry sidelines, I think we see him right now on the right-hand side of your screen. Connor Anion, the senior out of Orangeville, Ontario, Canada, out for the year with an injury, I believe a collarbone injury. Of course, was an offensive lineman on the football team. And it's so interesting when you kind of look at this game and you say to yourself, okay, I understand when you have football players out there, and usually it's going to be a wide receiver or a running back or something. It just scares me to think about a guy, a good athletic offensive lineman, getting out there and the havoc they can cause on a lacrosse field.
Absolutely, but again, it's such the crossover between these 2 sports with football and lacrosse. You see so many players who play both, and again, no surprise that these lacrosse coaches, they just go recruiting right amongst the football team, and a lot of times you see assistant coaches the same on both teams as well.
That's definitely the case here. Ryan Alexander, the offensive coordinator for the football team, the nephew of head coach Clint Alexander, an assistant on the coach on the lacrosse staff under Brian Hemming. So almost ready to get started here in the second half. Again, it's Phillips and Mendocino in the face-off area, and they will both kind of whiff on that opening face-off, but it'll dish it back, and it'll be a Miazon picking it up and having a chance to start things off for Episcopal.
And a big face-off win for Episcopal to start off this second half after that possession, the failed possession at the end of the first half, not going the way that they wanted it to with that pass as we perceived it from Miazon going off the goal.
Well, we dished it back around, and again, Episcopal content just kind of work around, looking for an open shot. Again, if you hear some whistles in the background, may not be our game. I believe there's a JV game going on next to us. That one's going to be a nice save there, knocked away by Wharton, but a good ground ball pickup by Phillips to keep things going Episcopal's way.
Yeah, that was a nice low shot, and the goalkeeper read it well.
That one will go bouncing by from the stick of Miazon, and we'll go ahead and throw it down to our Gray Robertson with this update.
I talked to Woodberry coach Brian Hemming as he came out of a locker room, and he had one word to tell me: intensity. He loves the energy that this team is playing with, and he says he wants to see more of the same in the second half. He's also excited to use an open set offense, and that, of course, is if Episcopal goes man-to-man defensively, and we'll see what they do for the rest of the second half. Back to you.
Brooks Davey with the goal, his third of the game, and a flag goes down as well. But now a 2-goal lead by Episcopal, and just a nice shot. Davey from over in the corner able to find the way to get it past Talford Wharton and give his team a 2-goal advantage.
And we've talked a lot about Davey. He was one of our players to watch, but one of the best things about him is what a hard worker he is. I mean, he's been a great player for Episcopal since his freshman year, but he has consistently worked hard each year to just get better and better, and he's upped his game, and you certainly see all that paying off today as a hat trick already for Davey.
So 6-4, another chance to score here for Episcopal. Phillips will give it off to Davey, kind of playing a 2-man game. Now they'll go ahead Gimiazon involved as Phillips will recycle for a second. Davies' shot goes wide. The ball will stay with Episcopal.
And again, such a tough assignment for this defense because so many weapons out front for Episcopal. It's really hard to double team.
And that will find the back of the net now as Timmy Phillips finally gets in on the action. That one from straight up in front of the goal, a little ways out, and he's able to go ahead and give his team a 3-goal lead.
Again, he's such a complete player, and Episcopal definitely missed that while he's been out with injury for the past few games. And again, such a huge win for them against St. Stephen, St. Agnes, particularly without Phillips. As you get another look here, right up top, going into the right side of the goal, the right side of the goalkeeper.
Well, high-low action, and now Episcopal, we saw it at half, Monica, how they're really a higher scoring team than Woodberry Forest, and it looks like they may be getting themselves on a run. I think Woodberry has got to answer pretty soon.
Well, absolutely. This was a much-needed face-off win for Woodberry, but then they turned the ball over, as you see Phillips again with possession for the Maroon. And just a tough break there for Woodberry Forest after it looked like they were going to come up with the ball off the face-off. They turn it over.
And timeout going to be called by Episcopal. So 10:20 to go in the third period with Episcopal leading 7-4 here in the here at Woodberry. Of course, we'll be back down here this weekend for a nice track meet at Woodberry Forest. Also another game we talked about, Paul VI. Will be down here as the Tigers take them on. And again, it is kind of cool to see. Unlike maybe in football and some of the other sports, it seems like that the DC area teams and the Richmond area teams kind of mixing a little bit more than you see somewhat. You do see it a little bit, but not maybe as much as we're really seeing. You see Paul VI playing those guys, playing some of those other teams from up in the Northern Virginia area, kind of able to test themselves on the statewide away. And, of course, ranked 8th in the VISAA poll. Episcopal, they're ranked 6th in the poll. So both teams, again, maybe not as highly ranked as they would like to be, but, again, in good position to maybe make some noise in the postseason tournament.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, both of these two teams, certainly so much talent on their rosters. But as we talked about, this area is just such a hotbed for lacrosse. There's so much talent in the area. It's always very competitive in these leagues.
So Episcopal looking to go ahead and add to that 3-goal lead. And taking their time. Miazon back at the point. Now left-handed shot. That one's going to go wide. I think maybe hit a stick of a Woodberry Forest player. Will stay with Episcopal. Good quick ball movement. That one, another bouncing shot. It'll go past the net, but again, we'll stay with the Maroon.
And you see Davey, he's very hungry to add to that point total again. A bit frustrated there. But Episcopal hanging on to possession here. They've had the momentum since the end of the first half, and they've really come out strong after halftime.
Yep. Hugging the side of the cage is Wharton, trying to go ahead and keep the Maroon from getting themselves on the board. Slip down in front. That's going to lead to a turnover. Thought it was going to lead to a turnover. Shea couldn't corral it. Now it's going to stay with Episcopal. Looked like they had a chance to go to the net. Lyerly with it and had a couple guys attacking in front. Didn't feel comfortable dishing it off. Now, again, nice dodge, trying to get himself open. Back to the top, to the point, and Phillips thought about it. Instead, he'll recycle and rethink.
Well, he was well defended up top by Lucas. But really with that slip that we just saw by Episcopal, it's one of the few really visible slips we've seen despite the surface that these guys are playing on.
Bouncer by the cage, and it will stay with the Maroon. Just under 9 minutes to go. Chance at a point-blank shot. I think defense got a stick in there. Stays with Episcopal, though. And again, Phillips kind of puts the hand out there and says, hey, guys, let's calm down. Let's go ahead and take our time here.
And that's one of the big things that he does for this team. He's such a leader out on the field.
Again, that one's going to go, but again, it will stay with Episcopal. Really a lot of defensive time right now, Monica, for this Woodberry Forest team, having to play on the defensive end.
Well, and that was a great defensive play by Taylor Brower over there, who's defending Davy.
He's going to dish it off. Phillips, again, good ball movement by Episcopal. Nothing there. Tigers really attacking anytime someone looks like they're about to take a shot.
Well, they're being very aggressive on defense, and you talked about it. They've been on defense a while.
And too long as Brooks Davy able to go ahead and find the back of the net, his 4th goal of the game, and now a 4-goal lead for Episcopal.
Well, and that's really what it all boils down to. If you give a team so many looks at the goal, they're finally going to capitalize, and that's what we're seeing from the left side here with Brooks Davy going to the right. Bit of a sidearm shot there into the back of the net.
Nice little dodge to get himself some space to get that shot off.
And what a game Davy has had. And again, no surprise there. He's been stellar all season long, but helping to stretch out this lead for the Maroon.
Calderwood against Mendocino, and Shea will pick it up. And Shea looking for his first tally of the game. Going to take it down those hash marks. Shot and a goal. And finally, Pat Shea has arrived. His team now down 3. Shea's first goal of the game.
And it couldn't have come at a better time for Woodberry Forest. And there, Shea, I think, benefited from the fact that it was a more of an unsettled situation. The defense didn't have as much time to key in on Shea before he was able just to rip one off as we get another nice look here in transition. Blowing past the defender. I mean, he would not be denied on that play.
Yeah, it ran right by the sophomore Brandon Williams, able to find the back of the net. And that's one of the things in lacrosse. You can see a guy just kind of go off, and Shea may have a chance again as he's going to force the issue, taking it on the Episcopal defense. They do a better job of stopping his angles, and now they'll have to recycle the offense.
Well, Shea has such great explosive speed, which we saw in that last goal that he scored, which is one thing that makes him so deadly.
Little movement in front. A couple guys coming through in front of the net, trying to reposition that Episcopal defense. Behind the net. This time it's Whitworth looking for something to come open. Nothing there, so he'll give it back over to Shea. Tigers will reset again.
And I think a really important possession here for Woodberry Forest after Episcopal had stretched that lead out to 4, Shea coming up with the big goal. And now if Woodberry Forest could continue to close the gap here so that things don't get too out of hand, because Episcopal really going on a tear to open up this second half.
If I remember correctly, the biggest deficit Woodberry faced was only 2 goals in that first half. So, again, 4 would be something big. But, as you mentioned, this is a game of runs, and you can get yourself back into the game if you can score a couple goals in bunches.
Well, absolutely, particularly when you have a strong face-off specialist, as Woodberry Forest does. You can win those possessions back.
Yeah, as Coach Hemming told me before the game, you know, our sport's the only sport where it's make it, take it. Now, taking a shot from out front is Lindell Stone, misses it, but it stays with Woodberry Forest as Ware was behind the cage.
And that was a nice idea looking for Bierman again. He has been so active on offense today, really trying to get himself open for looks on goal.
But I think it's at least sounded from the tone of your voice. Nice idea, not good execution. It gives the ball back over, as opposed and really not getting off that one shot by Stone. But as we saw the last possession with Episcopal, getting those multiple shots, better chance to score, obviously.
And again, what you didn't want to do there for Woodberry Forest, because Episcopal having the momentum right now, it would have been huge for Woodberry Forest to put together a couple of goals back-to-back to get that momentum to shift. But instead now the Maroon with possession, but plenty of time left in this second half.
Connor Jacoby out for Episcopal right now, going a little deeper into the bench. This shot goes wide by Phillips, but will stay with Episcopal, as the closest man to it was Randolph. Randolph, one of the many players on both teams from far away from where their two schools are located. He's out of Arlington, Texas. And that shot's going to go high over the cage and will stay. And of course, we talk about that really these two schools, because of their reputation, able to draw folks from all over the nation. You just kind of look at the folks who show up at both these places, guys from from Canada, from Texas, from California, kind of dotting the rosters of both squads. Fight for the ball, and a big wicked shot by a stick, still loose, and fought for, knocked up in the air, and eventually the goalie comes away with it. Wharton going to go ahead and start the break himself.
Nice defensive stand there by Woodberry Forest, but the turnover caused.
And they'll go ahead, blow the whistle. Of course, Lucas, it's tough for him as that long stick midi, as he was out in front, and just so much easier to take the ball away from that guy. Just not as much stick control. So it looks like a penalty called on Woodberry Forest. Looks like, on Episcopal, going to be Brooks Davey. So obviously the way he scored, putting him over there, not something you want to see if you're Coach Conklin. Now Stone going to start things off as Woodberry looks to go ahead and cut it down to a 2-goal deficit.
And again, Woodberry Forest here really looking for a high percentage shot, trying to cut into this deficit, an important possession for the Tigers.
And that's exactly what they'll do. And again, it is Patrick Shea, his second straight goal. He finds the back of the net, and that deficit now down to 2.
And this is exactly what we expected out of Patrick Shea. As we said at the beginning of the contest, this guy averages about 5 points per game. He is very active in the offense. He's really the guy for Woodberry Forest. Helped out a lot by his teammates in the first half, but you're going to see this shot here, a lot of velocity on it for Patrick Shea.
And I think you referred to at one point the many facets of his game. We saw early the athleticism where he just took it down the field and scored. Just said, I'm just going to outrun all you guys and score. That time, a little more of a set play, but a nice shot to find the back of the net. Coming up on the 4-minute mark here in the third quarter. Miezon looking for the score. Behind the back pass by Phillips to give over to Davey, and another goal for Episcopal. What a play by Timmy Phillips. A behind-the-back pass over to Brooks Davey. Davey says, don't come to me. Come to the guy who set me up.
Absolutely. I mean, we had that graphic up earlier about these midfielders that do such a great job feeding their teammates. I mean, Timmy Phillips, really a great play. You're going to get another look there. And then Davey with his 5th goal of the contest for Episcopal.
What a play. Let's get it down to our campus correspondent, Gray Robertson, with this update.
Senior Pat Shea for Woodberry, who scored the last 2 goals for the Tigers, actually has a very interesting pregame routine. Every night before a game, he sleeps with his lacrosse stick, saying it gives him good luck. I know this because he's the prefect on my dorm here at Woodberry, and he's not shy about talking about his little routine. Of course, the Tigers being down by 3 right now might need a few more goals from Pat if they want to pull out this game.
Thank you, Gray. And, of course, Monica, you look at the game in lacrosse and, the Thompsons last year with Albany, such a big story, and now the kind of, innovated offense by kind of playing a little more frantic style and a little bit. It's kind of like you see that starting to creep into the all over lacrosse now. Plays like that are a big example, and now another big-time score as Miezon, his 3rd goal of the game, and now we've got back out to that 4-goal Episcopal advantage.
Well, and right now the floodgates have opened, and Episcopal getting it done on offense. As you see, Miezon now his 3rd goal of the day. Davey with 5 goals in this contest. The Stars have come to play for the Maroon. Great job going around right side and then right to the right of the goalkeeper. Once again, just perfect placement there to get it past the goalkeeper for Woodberry Forest.
That one tough for Wharton. That's one of the first ones I think he's seen today that he just hasn't been able to stop. There are ones that have bounced. There have been ones. That one probably could have been stopped, just didn't able to get the stick over in time. And now a 4-goal lead with 3 minutes exactly here in the third quarter, and Episcopal looking to add to it. The Episcopal fans not happy with that call. Some fake laughter. Gives it back over to Woodberry. And now a turnover here. Ware had it taken away, and Episcopal looking to blow things open right now.
And really a costly turnover right there for the Tigers as they wanted to stem the tide, as Episcopal has gone on yet another huge scoring run, but the turnover is killing the Tigers right now.
Again, get a break, get a call, come down and turn the ball over. And now Episcopal looking for a 5-goal lead, which would be their biggest of the game. Had 4 already once, and that had kind of cut into by Shea.
Well, and we don't have the statistic for time of possession, but Woodberry Forest has been on defense a lot in this second half. These defenders really working hard as they come up with it there.
And that turnover. So Woodberry with a chance where it looked like they might end up down by 5. Now have a chance to cut back in the lead. Stone's got some space. He'll pull it back and recycle the offense. Thought he might try and take someone to the net. Thought better of it. Stone's got a seam. So they'll cycle the ball back around.
I keep hearing those whistles and thinking that they're in this contest, and yet I didn't see anything, so it is a bit distracting.
Stone going to miss on that shot. So just about 90 seconds to go here as Whitworth brings it back in. Now Shea with it. That little mini run of his own to get the Tigers back into the game, but quick answers by Davey, courtesy of the great assist by Phillips, and then Miazon put us right back where we were a few minutes ago. Nice scoop there on the low one by Bazinski.
Well, Shea really has kept the offense going. He's been the lone goal scorer for Woodberry Forest in this second half with 2 back-to-back goals for the Tigers.
Shot in, going to bounce over and going to be grabbed by Brannon. Good idea, just really not enough juice on that one to really make it do much. He's on a little contact there, stays going forward, looks for the shot. That one's going to go ahead and go wide as his stick got hit as he was shooting.
But he saw an open lane there, so a good idea, but a nice defensive play.
Coming up on 30 seconds to go in the period. Episcopal looking to go ahead and add to that 4-goal lead. Working behind the cage. Always such a tough play. I always think for that goaltender with so much space behind you, always have to be cognizant of kind of running up and jamming one in.
And Episcopal being patient here.
Maybe a little too patient. Under 10 seconds, got to go. Davey looking for something there. Going to throw it away and gets hit and knocked over. A little bit of contact, and eventually we'll have the whistle blow. So Woodberry up to the task as Davey looked to go ahead and blow it open himself. And a good defensive play there by Woodberry to keep him from doing it. But we go to the final period here with Episcopal holding a 4-goal lead, 10-6. And again, we saw it. It looked like Woodberry was almost there to get right back into this. And then we see Episcopal just kind of hit the gas pedal and go right back by him.
Well, absolutely, and it's courtesy of some face-off wins. It's courtesy of some turnovers by Woodberry Forest, and then Episcopal has been efficient on their offense. They've gotten some great shots by Brooks Davey. It's no surprise that he was the one to take the shot at the end of the third quarter. That's absolutely who they wanted to have that last shot, even though he wasn't able to convert. What a game he has had today with those 5 goals.
Yeah, Brooks Davies really been the guy, and we sometimes we do the players to watch and they don't come through. He's come through today with these 5 goals in the contest, and really a guy that has been able to just carry that scoring load. And you talked about it, that really they are a balanced team when it comes to scoring, but in big games, you want your guys to play well, and he's definitely done that today.
Well, I think that's absolutely right. And, I mean, he has been such a huge part of the offense, but it helped that Miazon got off to such a great start. We've talked about that assist from Timmy Phillips, everything he does out, his leadership on offense. So they're just such a complete unit. That's what every coach wants to have, is an offensive unit where you can rely on every single person to score. They gel together really well, and that's one reason why Episcopal has gone on this run of wins that they've had back to back to back.
Mendocino and Phillips to face off to start our final period of regulation, with Episcopal holding a 4-goal lead, 10-6. Referee, as you see, places it down there, taking his time. Again, it's just such a tense situation when those two guys are down there. Then blows the whistle. Then, of course, we are underway. Nice between the legs pass there by Mendocino off to Shea, who's going to look to go ahead and keep that scoring run. He's on 2 goals, both in the second half, trying to get his team back into it.
Well, again, you see that explosive speed by Shea, and when you have defenses keying in on you, that's one thing that you have to have, because you're trying to create opportunities somehow in transition or trying to get past the defense.
Shot attempt there. That one knocked away. I think a stick got in on Monroe, but it stays with Woodberry, and a nice save there by Brennan.
Yeah, that was several nice defensive plays by Episcopal. It was McKernan who got his stick on the ball, and then the nice save as well for Episcopal.
Now turnover, and Woodberry with one of those chances, those fast breaks they got in the first half, getting point-blank range and then just dinking it home. Nick Bierman, his 3rd goal of the game, and Woodberry's cut the deficit down to 3.
And again, this has really been the bread and butter for Woodberry Forest in this game, is when they've gotten these transition fast break opportunities, and you're going to see right here Bierman really taking advantage for the Tigers. Nice dodge past his defender, and then a nice close range shot. Really nothing Episcopal could do right there, just the one-on-one opportunity. And Bierman has been such a huge bright spot for the Tigers today.
And you have to like the fact he didn't panic and try and shoot it as hard as he could. He's like, look, I'm open. All I have to do is just kind of flick it into the net, and that's exactly what he did.
Well, absolutely. Sometimes those shots that you shouldn't miss are the hardest ones to make.
Especially on the run like that, you have the tendency, everything's going fast. It's like, hey, I got to do it fast. Nope. He kind of settled under control and just plopped it in the back of the net.
Well, you hear coaches talk about that all the time, sometimes in games when coaches pull the goalkeeper because they're down. And then, people wonder, why doesn't the other team just shoot? Well, sometimes those are the hardest goals to make when you don't have the goalkeeper in there. So they're just trying to hang on to possession. But so great credit there to Nick Bierman for another big goal for the Tigers.
Almost goes in. Woodberry holding their hands up, looking for a foul. Nothing called. Griffin threw that pass on and almost went in. Now a turnover by Episcopal, so it's going to stay with the Tigers. And Griffin going to go ahead and bring it back in. Nate Ingram with it. Talked about Ingram, one of the wide receivers on the football team, also part of the senior prefects. One of the cool things here at Woodberry Forest. Got really seniors to kind of help oversee things on the campus. Actually, he's kind of upper level on the board management. He's a scribe. And one of the positions, there's, I believe, there's a couple of the ones I actually wrote these down. They're pretty cool. Harden Lucas, a deputy senior prefect. And, of course, then there's also the senior prefect as well, which I believe is Christian Zayton, who is the quarterback. The backup came in for Lindell Stone this year during the football season. So, again, it's one of the cool little things about Woodberry Forest here, just a little bit different than your normal high school, if you will.
Well, and no surprise there, because those are leadership positions on campus, and you see what great leaders these athletes are out on the field, so no surprise they're selected for those roles.
Fight for the ball. Eventually thought it was going to be picked up by Episcopal on the ground ball. And again, a good job by John Ober. Twice it looked like Woodberry was going to pick up possession. Ober got the stick in at the right time to keep it alive, and now a shot goes over the top of the net. Point blank from Miazon. He had a chance there to go ahead and really bury one and just couldn't get it to go home.
But as you said, yet another great defensive play by Ober. We've talked about him a lot today, but really defensively, he gets it done for Episcopal. And just, again, a player that has gotten better and better every single season, has upped his game, and I know that they are so excited to have him at Denver.
Yeah, I mean, twice on that possession, it looked like Woodberry was going to go ahead and stay in the attacking zone, and Ober just a little bit of the stick, just enough to go ahead and keep the ground ball alive and eventually picking up and getting off to a teammate. Coming up just under the 9-minute mark here in the final period, Episcopal with the 10-7 lead. Maroon looking to run their lead back out to 4. It's been their largest lead of the game. Did it twice.
And the story today, as we've said, really, I think what has been the deciding factor of the game, one of our keys to the game, the balanced attack from Episcopal. They've been very efficient on offense. They've had good looks, and they've finished. And that has been what has been the difference maker.
And difference maker is Brooks Davy again with a fantastic play, going down, able to beat the goaltender Talford Wharton for his 6th goal of the game, and the lead back out to 4.
And you could just read the body language of Wharton there on that play. So frustrated. But Davy just today, he cannot be denied as you get another look there, getting past his defender, falling, and then going right to the inside of the goalkeeper, how he snuck that in, and just enough on it to get past the goal line.
Did it from his knees. You see the baseball catchers, they'll throw a guy out from his knees. That's about just as good of a something comparable as he finds the goal from his knees, able to put it back out to a 4-goal lead.
I mean, what a great individual performance we've seen today out of Brooks Davy, just really getting it done, seeing all the different shots in his arsenal, doing a great job scoring off assists from teammates. He's great at creating for himself, even in impossible situations, as we just saw on that last goal by Davy. He is such a talent.
Now Episcopal looking to go ahead and add after that face-off. Looked like Mendocino thought he was fouled after Phillips won the ball, kind of looked back at the referee with the hands up saying, hey, man, that wasn't legal, but the referee thought different. And now Episcopal with a chance to go for their biggest, what would be their biggest lead of the game, a 5-goal lead. And this one kind of goes wild, but finds it back to Davy. And they're going to say, do they say it goes in or not? Absolutely. They're going to say that's a goal.
Unbelievable.
It bounced back out, so we weren't exactly sure.
But apparently it crossed the goal line. We'll get another good look here on this replay. A little hard to...
Comes back over to Davy and eventually moves it in. And hits the back of the netting and then bounced back out. But the players knew it was a goal, and that's going to be lucky number 7 for Brooks Davy. And now a 5-goal lead for Episcopal. And right now, Woodberry's got to get on their horse if they're going to get back into this game.
Absolutely. I mean, there's plenty of time left, and you can score so quickly in lacrosse. But that being said, being down by 5, just over 7 minutes remaining, Woodberry Forest really has to start being efficient on offense, getting some good looks. And
Brower had the good look, but of course, the long stick, tough to shoot and over the top. But it's going to stay with Woodberry. Is Monroe going to bring it back in?
Absolutely. With those long sticks, they always want to get in on the action on offense. You cannot blame them. And he did have an opening there, so not surprising.
Again, sometimes just tough to control a stick that big, especially when you're running that fast. Under the 7-minute mark here with the 5-goal lead for Episcopal. Shea looking for a shot. Again, up to the task, the sophomore Hampton Brannon. Outlet pass out. Phillips going to look to go ahead and add to the total. Phillips on the run. Dodge behind the back, was looking for the shot. Maybe a pass. I don't know, but he misses everything, but it stays with Episcopal.
And back to that save by Brandon, because really a fantastic save by the sophomore. I mean, he was the backup goalkeeper last year as a freshman, and I think he started one game, but he was pretty close to the starter last year in terms of abilities and has just stepped his game up even more this year. It's going to be scary to see him as a senior.
Brandon out of Atlanta, Georgia. So another one of those guys kind of coming from far away. Now a chance. Miezon going to find the back of the net right now. There is a wave coming down on Woodberry Forest, and it is maroon in color. Again, another score, and now a 6-goal lead for Episcopal.
And that's just hard to overcome. Now you have Miezon with 4 goals. We've talked about the 7-goal day by Davy, when your offensive stars have shown so much, as you just see there from that high shot there by Miezon. It really gets tough on a defense. And again, this defense from Woodberry Forest, they've been working so hard. Episcopal has had the time of possession. They've been winning possession. And so it's hard to consistently stop these high-octane scores that we've been seeing for the Maroon.
Now another fast break chance. And again, another nice save by Brannon. where early in the game those fast breaks kind of befuddled him. Now he's seemingly up to the task. Put up a wall.
Well, and you see what Woodberry Forest is trying to do. They've had so much success in transition and on those break opportunities, but at the same time, this defense for the Tigers not getting a lot of chance to rest because such a short possession for the Tigers, and then now they're back on defense.
That one's going to be a wild pass, and really we hadn't seen much of that lately. I believe the rain has slowed down, if not really stopped, but that one a wild one, as we saw a lot more of those earlier when it was a little bit wetter out. But again, with this turf, it's not like it's going to get any drier anytime soon.
Well, another development, it looks like the JV game is over as
Yes.
the JV team now out watching this contest, so we'll perhaps stop hearing any additional whistles other than what's going on in this contest. And
another great
Wow.
save by Brannon. That time it was Keen Griffin on the shot, and Brannon has made 3 straight saves, Monica, that really early in the game he didn't seem to be making.
Well, and everything just going the way of the Maroon right now, everything clicking on offense, and now the defense feeding off of that, coming up with some big plays.
Yeah, so far in the second half, Episcopal outscoring Woodberry by an 8-3 count. A 1-goal game at the half, and really Episcopal has been able to, through their stars, find a way to blow this one open as we are now under 4.5 minutes to go. Maroon looking to add to their total.
Well, again, they've been so impressive on offense, but you have to give a lot of credit to players like Davey and Maison because they've taken good shots and they've finished.
Again, Episcopal more than content. Run a little bit of clock. Looking for the dodge is Jacoby.
Well, absolutely. There's no shot clock, and so Episcopal can certainly take their time here, run some time off the clock, force this defense to continue to try to be active and stop all of these offensive weapons as you get another look there at that save.
Yeah, again, stopping Griffin, who had a goal earlier in the game, I believe on a play like that. And instead this time, Brannon up to the task, and then you see really the other guy there in Brooks Davey, who's had such a great game. 7 goals so far for the senior out of Wilmington, North Carolina, headed to Denison. If our numbers are correct, that goes ahead and bumps him up to 38 goals on the year. In just 11 games.
Well, absolutely. So you see the production there that Episcopal is getting out of Brooks Davey. Just, I talked about it earlier, just how consistent he is. You can rely on him game in, game out. Nice move by Phillips, but deflected by a defender.
Yeah, got some contact as it looked like he was kind of closing in. Now, Episcopal will go ahead and recycle a little bit, and as you said, really not worried about the time, as the time is on their side with coming up on the 3-minute mark here at Woodberry Forest, and the Maroon leading the Tigers by a 6 count.
Well, and again, it was such a close affair in the first half, but then Episcopal just methodically has stretched this out.
They're going to say that one off the post. That one was close again. It hits the post instead of the net. That net seems really tight. I thought we saw one earlier that might have been that hit the net instead of the post, but referee said that one doesn't go in. Now they'll blow the whistle.
But regardless, I think Episcopal could, continuing to do a great job getting the looks that they want.
And the penalty, I believe this one will go on Woodberry Forest. Maybe. But again, 2:34 here with Episcopal holding the 6-goal lead. See Lindell Stone there. Shea back with it, had those 2 goals to really get them back into the game. Another stop by Brannon.
And he really has just had a big second half for Episcopal.
Yeah, early on had a little bit of trouble, but really has been up to the task in the second half, just stoning Woodberry Forest.
Well, and really both goalkeepers, I think, in the first half struggled a little bit, and I don't know how much of that was weather-related, getting out some jitters.
Could have very well been. Now Phillips Only one goal today, but it really hasn't hurt his team. He's been there for so many other things when it came to it. Now it makes his defender slip down. Again, that's what happens. They talk about it a lot. When you have that athletic ability other guys don't have, and you can kind of stop with a dime the other guy can't, you'll see moments like that where Harden Lucas just lost his feet.
And with Davey with possession, I was wondering if he was going to go for his 8th goal of the day, but instead Episcopal looking content just to work things around on the outside.
See Nate Crane out there getting some time, a senior out of Madison, Wisconsin. Also Byron Shaheen coming in. So looks like Coach Conklin kind of emptying the bench just a little bit, getting some guys some PT as we come up on the 1 minute mark to go in regulation with Episcopal leading 13-7.
Well, it's certainly important. You want to get these players this experience. We've talked about how important the depth factor is. You want to reward guys, too, who work so hard in practice. And so good opportunity to get out, especially in this rivalry contest, to get out on the field. But, of course, Davey's still in this contest. Could add to his total before he's done.
Davey, that one's going to be stopped. Nice stop by Wharton on the catch. So Woodberry coming up on 30 seconds here. Look to go ahead and add a goal to their tally. Nice move, and that one will find the back of the net. Nice dish off, and Jack Whitworth, the senior out of Crozer, Virginia, able to score it and cut the lead down to 5, 13-8.
Well, it was a nice look to find Whitworth, and then Whitworth with the close-range shot, a great finish for the Tigers. As you see, no defenders there. It was really just a one-on-one with the goalkeeper.
A little conference. Woodberry Forest, Brandon and some of his defenders, I think, talking that one over, saying, hey, we got to make sure we're on the same page here, guys. That was a little bit too easy for them. 26 seconds to go. Mendocino in the circle, fighting for that face-off alongside Calderwood. Woodberry picking up the ground ball. Mendocino will dish it off. Coming up on 10 seconds. That will find the back of the net as Nick Bierman adds his 4th goal of the game. So a couple ones late, kind of padding the stat sheet, is now looking at a 13-9 score.
But also, I think, for Woodberry Forest, and this is what you would expect, these guys not giving up the fight. No. They are such competitors out there, continuing to fight as hard as they can. A nice shot there by Bierman. What a day he's had for the Tigers.
Again, getting some space and able to find the back of the net. Again, Mendocino and Calderwood in the face-off circle. Under 10 seconds to go. Actually picked up. Maybe one last chance. Maybe they'll go ahead and hold it. It looks like they will hold it. And Episcopal comes out of Woodberry Forest with a 13-9 victory as the Maroon triumphs over the Tigers once again, really on the back of Brooks Davey and Ricky Miezon. Davey with 7 goals in the contest, Miezon with 4, and just an offensive display put on by those two guys.
Well, absolutely, but we talked about it in this second half. The time of possession was absolutely owned by Episcopal. They got so many shots, so many looks on goal, and of course with players like Davey and Miezon, who are such high percentage shooters to begin with, there's little a defense can do when you're tested that much.
Yeah, just so many chances and getting good point-blank looks and able to go ahead and score and make for a really, really good game here. Again, in this rivalry matchup. And Brooks Davey and really the rest of the seniors kind of up for the challenge, again, with those 7 goals. And Timmy Phillips had a really good game when it came to face-offs and also some assists. And, but that was the key, I think, is we talked about a little bit, the stars being stars, and that kind of was the case today for Episcopal.
Well, I think that's right, and you just see with Episcopal, they just continue to build confidence. I think Friday against St. Stephen, St. Agnes gave them a lot of confidence coming into today's contest. I think having Timmy Phillips back was a huge factor for them, to have him back on the field just in terms of the chemistry that this team has and everything that he does out on the field for Episcopal. And just today, a little too much. And then with a player like Brooks Davey, I mean, it's rare that you see a player have that type of night, no matter what level you're talking about. But really, just tonight, I think that at the top of his game.
Yeah, the 13-9 victory for Episcopal in this one. Of course, we went to the half with it being 5-4 in Episcopal's favor. So really, that second half and a lot of those goals for Woodberry Forest kind of coming late, kind of adding on to what they had with a couple late goals there. But really, just Episcopal just seemed like they were able to put the pedal to the metal a little bit and just pull away from their rivals from down here.
I think that's right. I mean, Woodberry Forest was just never able to recover in the second half. Episcopal just got the momentum and never gave it back. And again, when you just have all of that offensive time of possession, you have all those looks on goal, and you're converting, and your confidence keeps building, and it just continues to become this steamroll effect against your opponent.
Seeing Brooks Davey there talking to probably some of his buddies from Woodberry Forest, and what a game for him. The senior attack, 7 goals today. We talked about it before, Monica, his numbers coming into this game. He had 31 goals on the season, and that goals average is probably going to go up a little bit, shocking as that is considering how much he scored already this year.
Well, absolutely. I mean, again, just a career performance for Brooks Davey with what he was able to do. But again, he's helped out by the fact that the defense cannot just focus on him. When you have Miezon, when you have Luke Miller, when you have Timmy Phillips, it is impossible for a defense to shut everyone down, and Brooks Davey definitely benefits from that fact.
Yeah, really just a fantastic goal. And the one thing I really did like, when that one assist from Phillips, you saw Davey, and he looked over at he kind of even looked at everybody. He kind of pointed himself. Then he pointed over to Phillips after that insane behind the back pass, and basically said, "Hey, that was I had the easy part. That guy's the one who set me up with that pass." Just an amazing play by a great player. And again, it was one of those things where talent. They always say it's not X's and O's, it's Jimmys and Joes. And you look at it with the roster of folks that Episcopal has and where they're going to play their college lacrosse. Phillips to Notre Dame. You got Davey moving on to Denison. You got Luke Miller to Furman. You've got Miezon, the UNC commit. You got John Ober to Denver. There's a lot of talent on this Episcopal team, and that probably maybe won the day against a hard-playing Woodberry team and a talented Woodberry team, but not as talented as the team they're playing.
Well, absolutely. I just think the balance on this team really was the factor, and then the goalkeeper we haven't even talked about, Brandon, but what a second half the sophomore had. Let's get it down to our campus correspondent, Gray Robertson, standing by with our star of the game, Brooks Davey, also with the head coach, Scott Conklin.
Here with senior Brooks Davey. Congratulations on the win, and well, your jersey says 13, but your number today was 7. How were you able to find so much success?
I think as a team we were moving the ball around really well, just carrying and passing it back, and just putting shots on cage.
Well, this is 6 straight wins for your team. How do you plan on continuing that success the rest of the season?
Our energy's been really good in practice. The bench, everybody's been really excited all through the week, starting with last week. We had 4 days to prepare for St. Stephen's. I think the energy the whole week was there, so I think we can keep the energy up. Should be pretty good.
Well, congratulations on the victory. Congratulations on the 7 goals. And now we're here with Coach Conklin. Coach, great job today. The offensive onslaught in the second half was obviously key. You had 5 goals in the first half and 5 goals in the third quarter alone. What changed in that second stanza?
Well, I think getting possession in the third quarter really helped. They went man down. We had a couple quick ones, and I think they went man down, so we were able to get 3 in the first 3 or 4 minutes. And we always talk about coming out in the first 5 minutes with energy and playing smart lacrosse, and I thought we did that. And to push from 5-4 to 8-4, put a little bit more pressure on them, but give them credit for coming back and scoring a couple quick ones. And then I thought our guys just responded, and we talked at halftime about playing more poised in the second half, and I thought we did that. So I was proud of the team for picking up their play and doing a nice job.
Now defensively, you guys had a great game today. 4 goals allowed in the first half, 3 through most of the second half. How were you able to combat that Woodberry offense really all throughout the game?
Well, they got 9 goals, so they did some nice things. We switched from a zone to man about midway through the second quarter and stuck with that the rest of the game. Just to put a little bit more pressure. I thought in the first quarter and first part of the second quarter they were really controlling the ball, and we wanted it to be more of an up and down game, so we decided to put a little bit more pressure on them. But our defense adjusted really well with that because we've been practicing zone mostly to get ready for this game. So I was proud of the the matchups that we had and the response that the kids gave in that after the second quarter.
Well, obviously a big win for you guys. Congratulations, and good luck with the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.
Thank you much, Gray. A great job by you today and a great job by this Episcopal team with this 13-9 win. You see our production team did a great job today in some not very good conditions out there, but they were out there helping to bring in this game, and which was a pretty good one and a nice scoring display by Brooks Davey and a fantastic matchup here as Episcopal goes ahead and beats Woodberry Forest by that 13-9 count. Thanks again to our campus correspondent, Gray Robertson, my color commentator today, Monica Moore. Monica, thank you very much. Great job today.
Oh, it was a fun one to watch.
It was a great performance today. Again, I'm Jeremy Hubert. Your final here from Woodberry Forest. Episcopal beats the rival Tigers 13-9. Good night, everybody.